in October or November, we determined that there was some stuff on the front of the porch that was unattended. There was nobody watching it. And so we sorted between things that were obviously trash and things that were not obviously trash. And as we were sorting, Ulysses, who's left, suggested that we take.
No, you take it.
Ulysses, you spoke with Steve Alwyn and offered to move the obviously personal belongings off site. I think that has not happened since because the stuff is not quote unquote abandoned. Every time I go down there, somebody says, yeah, I'm watching that. That's not mine, but I'm watching it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I have authority to move any of this stuff because it's not abandoned.
Okay.
Most of the time. Now, if you start moving something, somebody's going to walk up and say, that's my stuff. So it's really not an abandoned property issue.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, as Mr. Ragland was saying, is the building rules would need to allow it to apply not just to the inside of the building, but also the grounds.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But it sounds like it's possible, it may not be practical / feasible, but it's possible to have some people look at everything and say, oh, that belongs to so-and-so, that belongs to so-and-so. That, I don't know what that is.
Yes, that's already been done. That was done through the spring, and the things that were identified as not belonging to anybody were taken off.
So conceivably, that could be done on a regular basis. Again,
Well,
leaving
sure.
aside the practicality of it. But,
Sure,
okay.
sure, on an ongoing
And
basis.
you have authority to do that today.
Sure, sure. But I don't think that's the problem.
Okay.
The problem, again, is just the volume that's out there.
There's already rules and regulations that exist that if items need to be removed, you have the authority to remove them. Is that correct? I think you actually asked us.
That was my question, yeah.
earlier.
The answer I heard was no, not outside.
Go ahead. You want to respond further, say yes, that's it, or you don't feel you have the authority?
I would defer to the committee. If you say I do, I would act on it. I consider the CCLC as basically the landlord of the committee, or a landlord of the building. And if you, whether, these are building rules, if you're saying, Dan, you're reading those rules wrong, I would start reading them correctly.
I guess I'm just wondering, is it the intention that if we do establish a secure, staffed, off-site, but downtown located storage facility, is there an expectation that storage of personal items would not be allowed in front of the City-County building once we've taken that step? And do we have to do anything to affect that change?
Go ahead. Supervisor Matano.
I opine that we, if for no other reason, what you've just heard Dan say, that is an additional step we would need to take and should take. I mean, in my ideal world, people would be, as we heard tonight, people would not be sleeping outside, period. We create all the facilities they need. But I've often told people in less public settings than this that I'd also support, draconian steps to prevent people from sleeping outside if it suddenly became popular, as President Reagan believed, to be homeless. So in my ideal world, and certainly in the short term, in terms of storage, if we have like 100 bike locker type places for people to put their goods, I'd be all for saying no plastic bags on the veranda.
But my sense is, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's why this has been on our agenda. We need to do something. It's not okay. And has been pointed out repeatedly. But that's why last meeting and this meeting I'm hearing, city and county staff are still working on alternatives. But Council's been a part of the conversations. Ulysses Williams has been a part of the conversations, and I know of others, so that we have the best solution that addresses people should not have to store their personal belongings in front of the city-county building or other places. There should be an alternative that we are willing to offer, an alternative where they can store their belongings and know that they can go to look for a job and not have to carry their backpack on them.
So if we, let's say next week, the city has established a site, the county has agreed to pay for whatever this unit looks like. And we've secured some level of staffing, some level of staffing, I don't know what that would look like. Do we then have to come back here and make a change, or could we proactively do that right now? And just say, in the event, or when the city and county establish an off-site storage facility, at that point, it is then prohibited to store stuff in front of the city-county building. And then the expectation would be that people would utilize that. Or do we feel more comfortable having to come back and make that change after we've set up the facility?
Want to address that?
Well, I would suggest, I mean, if all of this came to fruition in a couple of weeks, I still think you'd want to give people a little bit of leeway before saying, you know, you wouldn't say, okay, this storage facility is opening today, you know, at 10 a.m., by 5 p.m., all this stuff needs to be done. I think you need to give people a longer lead time for the transition kind of thing. So I think even if, you know, if we're meeting in another month, I would still, you know, give us time. I mean, how realistic is it that something's going to happen within 2 weeks?
Actually, that was, unless others, my thought was, yes, if you have this ready next month, and we can say on our agenda that we have a solution, people have an alternative place to put, and safe place to put their belongings, that their belongings will be accountable, they will be a part of that accountability, that would be good news, that we can say that at our next meeting. Go ahead.
And I agree with that, that's one step, but then the other one is, I guess, will people be getting their belongings and then coming back and sleeping on the front steps, and the behaviors will continue, the blockage, you know, will continue for people trying to come in and do business. So I think this committee has to address the issue of that the police brought up about no trespassing, and whether we are going to turn the signs around so that the police can enforce the no trespassing on the front steps of the city-county building. I think we should bring that issue back to the group at a later date and discuss that and how we're going to deal with that.